Well, it is true. This channel is going to go into very big changes soon, and I'm really excited to talk about this because I need to explain a little bit what's going to happen with the brand Tomorrow Matters. It's a channel that I created a couple years ago. I wanted to talk about like the changes, what I'm going to do, and the reasons why I want to do it. And also explore a little bit about the history behind this channel because it kind of represents my philosophy in a very straightforward way. I've really enjoyed making these types of videos on especially the topics of science and philosophy and technology, AI, that kind of stuff. And that's where my love for this channel started. But over time, I realized that that is not something that I want to continue doing in a very specific way because I'm still going to continue making these videos. It's just the format that is going to change. And also, I'm going to get rid of the TikTok pages for both the Spanish and English channel and also the Instagram pages. So those are going to go poof, disappear. But mostly because I've been inactive in them, and also because I've already have a lot of different just pages. And the main reason why I'm doing this is because, well, first of all, I'm going to go deeper into that later, but I want to focus everything under the Grant Keegan brand, which is going to be, well, my main channel, some of the other side projects I'm starting, especially the new one with robotics, and this one, which is going to be under that. And what's going to happen is that this one is going to be renamed Grant Keegan Tech and Philosophy. So it's going to be better reflective of my, thoughts on different things. I am still going to be covering news on artificial intelligence, on technology, on philosophy stuff like that is more away from the original channel, which is basically the same thing, but focused on movies, on video games, comic books. And I think I feel very confident and very happy for this new direction. So those are pretty much the main changes that are going to happen. Also, the Spanish channel is going to be completely rebranded into something else. But I think it's very important to go first in the history of when I started this channel. 3 years ago, I really was into channels such as Kurzgesagt that was inspired by YouTubers such as Johnny Harris, Alex O'Connor, who talked about these like huge, amazing topics like these documentary style videos, or just basically talking in front of a camera about a philosophical topic that really interested in me. I really been into philosophy for a very long time. I've been into exploring big ideas, especially the topic of artificial intelligence is now with ChatGPT and these huge shifts in culture and science and tech that are happening. I believe it is important to talk about these topics, about refining my philosophical ideas around them. And this also helps me not only my day-to-day life, but also just with other stuff like analyzing the deep meanings behind movies like, for example, The Matrix, Her, which I do in my main channel. And I love this stuff. I'm going to continue doing it. I'm not making this video to say this is the end of this channel. I really want to keep continuing to talk about this stuff because I believe it is really important, and I'm really excited to see what the future brings with this channel. And this ties into the idea of how I want to go about making these videos. If there's something you noticed about those channels, for example, I'm going to take Kurzgesagt because that is the most important example, and Crash Course, which is another great channel run by the Green brothers. These channels have a very distinct style, like kind of like professional looking, all clean. There's a lot of different, it's more like education than like what is considered a normal YouTuber channel. For example, people who go on in front of a camera, give their own opinions, just basically unfiltered, uncensored. And there was a time where I wanted to make videos that began as a brand so I could make my own educational channel. That was my end goal, to become some kind of a Kurzgesagt type channel. I really want to do videos on more serious stuff and just like things that I have a really big passion in things related to my career, like AI and technology, some of the stuff I'm passionate about, like activism, like climate change activism and all that stuff. So I decided to create this separate channel called Tomorrow Matters, which is going to cover just that, like the really interesting topics, like in-depth kind of like video essays and investigations about stuff that really I'm passionate about, where I would just talk about science, make really highly detailed videos. And I realized soon enough that that was a very hard task, but I was still determined to do it because I really love doing this stuff. And seeing the trajectory of channels, for example, Alex O'Connor and other similar YouTubers who give their opinions, they're kind of like more, like a guy giving an opinion in front of their camera. Another one I would add is Wisecrack, who's kind of in the middle, but their videos are still very well researched. They're very well edited. That was my goal, to make like this channel that was educational and also like more kind of like polished, more square, if you want to look at it that way, which connects into the idea of why I'm rebranding the channel. So yeah, the first reason is because I believe that YouTube, even though there's a lot of great space for these type of channels that are more professional looking, I think it's more of a personal journey. And that ties with the second reason, but I like giving my own opinions in a way that is unfiltered. And Like unless you have like entire teams of writers, fact checkers, that kind of stuff, it's I think it's like important to have that too. I'm not saying like it's not important to, you know, check facts and like research things. But I think that YouTube for, you know, people like me making videos in their own room is more of a personal journey. And I feel like with this new direction of rebranding the channel, of just like completely forgetting about, you know, trying to make it like pristine, like Kurzgesagt in a nutshell, I think it's going to give me a lot more freedom and a lot more flexibility to release videos on my own schedule, to talk about topics without, you know, worrying too much, like being too rigid. And that's something that I really want, especially in an ideological sense. The second reason why I'm killing the Tomorrow Matters brand is because it just takes too much work to run a channel like that. For example, when you look at a Kurzgesagt, I think even like they say that their videos take thousands of cumulative hours between writing, editing. Like the editing in those videos is insane.
Since we usually work on 2 to 4 videos at the same time in various stages. What we haven't mentioned are the countless revisions and edits. Every few days we sit together and review our work and tweak it until it feels just right. And that's it. At least 1,200 hours for a single Kurzgesagt video.
Between writing, editing, like the editing in those videos is insane. Even with channels like Johnny Harris, which I think he does most of it himself, but he also has to have help from external sources. I don't think he does that high quality amount of videos that soon and without any help. And that's something that I've come to realize. Like I think right now I'm not at the point of my YouTube career where I'm making videos on that scale and quality. I feel like it takes a lot of different editors and just like a whole team of people to create a channel. That's something I would like to do someday, but I just feel like with my current resources, that is not possible. So I think it's more important to shift the focus from like, oh, let's make this like pristine channel that is more focused on universal appeal, and instead make something that is, you know, more personal, that you like, you know, in the brand that it's, you know, me giving my own opinion instead of trying to make it into like this professional documentary. And there's going to be a lot of that. I'm not saying like I'm not going to put effort into my videos, but it's just the vibe from the channel and that it's going to change a lot. This ties into the third point where I got sidetracked a lot while trying to make these kind of like quasi-perfect videos. For example, I argue that the success of my first channel is because of the frequency of the videos I post, but also because I'm much more relaxed in those videos. For example, I talk about things without worrying too much about, oh, is this going to be perfect? And I think that reflects in the final product. Like I make a lot of jokes from time to time. I try to be like loose with my sense of humor, to like try not to take things too seriously. And I feel like that's the reason why some of these channels, even though they're very interested and well researched, do not like they kind of had a decline in quality because they were too focused on becoming like this serious, more kind of like refined, polished, like let's even like down to the ideological things. For example, I think that everything you say goes through a filter. Like, oh, they're not gonna like this thing that I say. They're not gonna like that. I better just clean up like the things that I say, or say it in a way that is not going to like probably offend people or offend like a group of people, or just conform to like a mainstream way of thought. And that's something that I don't want. Obviously, I'm gonna be careful with the things that I say, but I feel like having a freedom to think and to release things at my own pace. And even though I might be wrong, I just want to transmit that vibe that this channel is something that I'm like still growing in, but I still want to comment on things like artificial intelligence, on robotics, the state of the world, technology. I think it is important to have that clear, and this new rebrand is going to help with that a lot. And to finish this point, I feel like that it got reflected in a couple of ways that I wanted to think the way that I was supposed to think. And I realized, like, I made a live stream a couple months ago where I was discussing a debate between Richard Dawkins and Jordan Peterson. And that was such a fun event. Like, I was even drinking beer. I was just like hanging out with people in the chat, just discussing these philosophical ideas without worrying too much. And I feel like worrying is kind of like the brakes on success and on, you know, like that perfectionism. I feel like it's something that was holding me back in this channel. I was especially, well, that's something that goes back to the beginning of YouTube. I was afraid to even give my opinion on an album review or like a movie review.
It was really well made. It's like once in a career project, I think, that he produced, and I'm really glad he made it because it really brought a lot of deep feelings within me. And even if you don't like EDM, I think you will enjoy this album.
And then with time, I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to care anymore. I'm just going to say whatever I want. And when I started to make the quote unquote serious channel, I was worried to the max because I was like, oh, what if I say something that is wrong? How are people going to react? They're not going to take my channel seriously. And that is a fear that I slowly started chipping away with the years as I got more confident. And that's kind of like the message I want to transmit with this new direction in the channel. Like this is just like, if you like the videos, stay around. I want to just share stuff that I like, that I think is interesting and that I think it's important. And that's basically the main point. And I'm going to do my best to get things right. And that is something that I really want to do. But I just felt like that also kind of like corporate, boardroom type of feeling that most of these channels have. It's just something that I don't want to transmit. I'm kind of like, I want to transmit more the vibe of just like a rebel without a cause, just talking about topics that I think are interesting. That's something that I was afraid to do when I was too worried about making it like the perfect brand. I was worrying too much of, oh, what if somebody that is like quote unquote professional sees these videos and doesn't like a joke that I make, and it's like that ruins my credibility. I was worried too much about these things like credibility, like reputation of all, and that's something that I guess every YouTuber or video creator encounters every once in a while. And I have to say, it's important sometimes, but not always. Like 80% of the time, most people are not gonna really care in a way. So I think it's important to just be yourself and recognize like, hey, like, and I don't have a huge team of editors. It's just me in front of a camera. So why not? Why not say these things? But anyways, I think you get the point. That's kind of like the main reasons why I want to rebrand the channel. And also the Spanish one, that's a whole different story. But I'll make a different video in Spanish outlining the trajectory of that channel. But for now, it's just going to be the rebrand, the name. I'm going to re-release a lot more videos. I'm going to release probably a couple in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say today. So goodbye, Tomorrow Matters. It was a good run, but it's time for Grant Keegan, Tech and Philosophy.